Good evening, this is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku wrap for the week ending November 28th, or 27th, actually. Um, so let's see what we've got going on here. We have the ES Weekly. We see that ES Weekly is bullish. Price action is above the cloud. Um, there's one complication. The Chicow here, this red line representing price time shifted 26 periods into the past. The Chicow is under the candles. In order for price to go higher, the Chicow needs to get clear of the candles. It's going to have to deal with this red candle right here, the 6-1 weekly candle, and it's going to need to get over that. Either that, or it could come down and find support at the Tenkan-sen, or it could lose support of the Tenkan-sen and get back down into this region between the Tenkan-sen, the blue line here, and the pink line, the Kijun-sen. So looking at the current candle, let's zoom in a little bit. We see that we got a very nice bounce off the cloud. So in the event that we do find selling next week, perhaps any kind of selling, a gap down perhaps even, look to find support at the cloud once again. And this week the cloud support will be at around 2066. So that's definitely, given the current bullish situation here on ES, that would be a very nice buy point, that 2066 area. But we do have a hammer type candle. It could be seen as a potential reversal candle, as it's in an uptrend from the last candle. There is a higher high and a higher low, but we could get a retrace back lower. So keep an eye on that 2066 level if we do. And be aware that we did have some sellers coming in off the highs. The high was 2098.25, and we closed at 2090.50, so 8 points or so off the highs. So that is showing that there is some resistance, some sellers coming in. That's been an issue around these levels for quite some time. So it might be difficult to get over that prior high, and also over the high of this candle here, which is 21.10.25. So if we do manage to get over that 21.10.75, like over 21.11, I would be looking for much higher prices, back to find the prior high of, I can't see it, 21.34, that area. So keep an eye on those levels. And that's about it for ES. Let's move on to look at crude. We see that crude is still bearish under the cloud. In fact, it's fully bearish because it's under the cloud, under the Kijun-sen, and under the Tenkan-sen. The Kijun-sen is bear crossed over the Tenkan-sen. So the main level that we have the main levels, I should say, that we have to work with on crude going into next week. We are in an uptrend. We do have a higher high and a higher low from last week, but we did see a lot of sellers coming in, as the body of the candle is quite small and there is a slightly longer topping tail than there is a bottoming tail. But the most important level on the weekly that we have to the upside is the 45.49 Tenkan-sen level. Keep an eye on that. If we do find a bunch of buyers coming in, and we do get a move to the upside, that is going to be an important level of resistance. As you see, this large red candle got rejected from approximately that level, and we've been unable to get above the Tenkan-sen since we lost the Tenkan-sen on this red candle on the 19th. So that's crude. Let's look at some other indexes. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, like the ES, is bullish. It's fully bullish because the Chicow is above the candles and has no resistance to worry about. We do have a red candle, however, which also could suggest potential reversal candle, but we would need a confirmation on that of a lower high and a lower low. So we'll see what happens there. We do have a flat Tenkan-sen below price action. Usually when the Tenkan-sen goes flat, it suggests a potential mean reversion back towards the flat. When anything is flat in the Ichimoku, it suggests mean reversion back towards the flat. The Ichimoku loves to attract price at flats. So we also have a flat cloud here. So if we do get a retrace lower, keep an eye on the Tenkan-sen. It's quite a ways down from here. It's at 43.85.25. What I expect will likely happen is we will probably get the Tenkan-sen tipping up when the new candle opens to reflect this bullish price action of last week and the week before especially. And if that happens, then the resistance will be wherever the Tenkan-sen is pointing up to. You know, I'm guessing it might point up towards the 44.39 area, something like that. But we'll, you know, I can't predict that. We'll see what happens with the Nasdaq. But fully bullish until proven otherwise. Let's look at the Russell. Russell is contrary to the other indexes that we've looked at thus far, the Russell is neutral in Ichimoku terms because price action is inside the cloud. We do have a very nice uptrend after we got a bounce off the Tenkan-sen down here. In fact, we got a very nice bounce after closing below the cloud. We tested slightly below the Tenkan-sen and made it all the way back into the cloud the week before last. And then last week's candle made it through the Kijun-sen resistance and closed higher. So if we do get, do make note that right where price action closed on Friday is right when the Chikou hit the Kijun-sen here. So the Chikou has resistance at the Kijun-sen. If the Chikou manages to make it through the Kijun-sen, it will have resistance up here at the bottom of this candle, which is at 12:35.20, and then also at the Tenkan-sen, which is at approximately 12:42.25, something like that. But we also have resistance at the top of the cloud here at 12:22. Let's call it 12:22 for ease of remembrance. So if we do get a move higher, do keep an eye on that 12:22 as potential sell point. It's unusual for price action to break out and remain above the cloud on the first try, so keep that in mind. All right, let's look at the Dow. The Dow we see is fully bullish, except for once again the Chikou is has been thus far unable to get above the Tenkan-sen and the candles. So we need to see that the Chikou get above the Tenkan-sen level, which is going to be at approximately 17,915 thereabouts, and then it needs to get above this candle. So really 1825, something like that. Currently, the Dow is in a downtrend. It seems strange, but because we had an existing uptrend, then we had a trend change to the downside with this red candle here, and then this green candle put in an outside candle, so no change of trend, still downtrend, and then this last week's candle put in an inside candle also. So downtrend, outside candle, inside candle, so still technically in a downtrend. We need to make a higher high and a higher low in order for the trend to be up for the Dow. We do have a flat cloud below. If we do find sellers, we can look for support down at the bottom of the cloud, which is around 17,040. If we lose the cloud support, we can look to find support down below at the Tenkan-sen, which is currently at 16,853. So those are some levels to keep an eye on. If we do find sellers, also the Chikou could come down and find support at the Kijun-sen, which could pause the price action from going further, and that's right around the same area as the bottom of this current candle, so let's call it around 17,650. So keep an eye on that level. If we do get sellers, we could find a bounce there at that 17,650 level. Let's look at the metals. Let's look at gold. Gold is not looking very good. It's quite bearish in all ways. Ichimoku, it's below the cloud, below the Tenkan-sen, the Kijun-sen. The Kijun-sen is bear crossed over the Tenkan-sen. The Chikou is pointing down, representing this bearish price action. We made a new low on gold, very small bounce. So there's nothing to indicate that gold is bottoming here. The RSI on the weekly is getting towards oversold, however, so you might want to keep an eye on that. If that starts redlining, we could get a bounce. Let's take a peek at the monthly for fun on gold, because I did find this prior level here of this high where price was rejected, and we had some some downward price action, and then we got a little rise to the top and continued to follow the Tenkan-sen all the way up. But I think this level is sort of significant, this 1033.70 level, so I would be curious to see if we can get a bounce at that 1033.70 level. It's not that much lower from here, maybe what, $23. That actually seems quite a lot lower, doesn't it? But so keep an eye on that level in the event that we could get a bounce. If we do see some upside to gold, do keep an eye on the Tenkan-sen. The Tenkan-sen is currently at 1141.80, which is we could find a price rejection at the Tenkan-sen, and the Tenkan-sen will open lower to reflect this strong downward momentum. So the Tenkan-sen could open maybe down 1132, maybe even lower. So if we do get a bounce up, it would be potentially a good trade to short the Tenkan-sen. I call this setup the Tenkan Smackdown. If you've been following my videos for a while, you would have heard me use that term before. It's a very nice, and in fact it proved to be a very nice short setup here for last week. If you had sold the Tenkan-sen at 1141.80, and you would have gotten a significant amount of ticks off this gold trade. Let's look at silver. Silver also quite bearish. If we, I'm gonna zoom in even more. Actually, I gotta switch back to the weekly. So silver is bearish under the cloud, under the Kijun-sen, under the Tenkan-sen. The Kijun-sen is bear crossed. Both Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen are pointing down, therefore not really asking for any mean reversion back up. Silver looks a little bit more bullish than gold because it had a significant bottoming tail here. In fact, this is a long leg doji type candle, so we could perhaps see a bounce off this. It could be a potential reversal candle. We would need to see a higher high and a higher low. If we do get a significant bounce higher in silver, I would look to this prior support level around 1470 to act as resistance. And then also, if we move even higher above that level, I would be looking for the Tenkan-sen for the Tenkan Smackdown trade setup that I just mentioned in my gold analysis. The Tenkan-sen will probably be lower when the new candle opens. It could even come down to the 1480 level, so keep an eye on that 1480 level on silver. Let's look at some treasury bonds. Treasury bonds rolled contracts last week. There's oftentimes a gap or discrepancy in the analysis, but I just choose to go with it for these purposes. So we see that ZB, the 30-year Treasury bond, is currently neutral in Ichimoku terms. It's inside the cloud, right smack dab in the middle of the cloud. It's in a downtrend as we had a lower high and a lower low from the prior candle. We did find resistance at the Kijun-sen. Let me zoom in a little bit further. So the Kijun-sen was solid resistance at 154.14 for ZB. So if we do move higher, keep an eye on that level. If we move above that level as well, above the 154.17 level, we could again find resistance at the Tenkan-sen, which is at 156, and also at the top of the cloud, which is slightly lower, maybe 155.16. we notice that the Chikou, this red line over here, representing price time shifted 26 periods into the past, is finding support here at the Kijun-sen, which would also suggest there is a potential for a bounce. But if the Chikou does lose the support of the Kijun-sen and ends up below the candles here, that would be pretty bearish, and we might come down and look for a test of the bottom of the cloud here, which is at 150.14. These are kind of big moves for ZB to accomplish in 1 week, but anything can happen, as you know, in these markets. This was a real big move 4 weeks ago, so we'll see what happens. Let's look at the 10-year. The 10-year is bearish in Ichimoku terms underneath the cloud, underneath Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen. Kijun-sen is flat, however, potentially suggesting we could get mean reversion towards the flat Kijun-sen, also towards the flat cloud above that, slightly above, around 127.095. If we did get a move to the Kijun-sen and over the Kijun-sen and into the cloud, we could then find resistance at the top of the cloud, which next week is going to be pretty low. It's going to be around let's see, approximately 127.18. And I think it is pretty unlikely that it'll get past the Kijun-sen and the bottom of the cloud, but you never know. The Chikou was rejected from the cloud and is under the cloud. So there's a big, oftentimes when the Chikou has to interact with a very large, decisive candle like this very bearish candle, it might have a hard time getting through and tend to be forced to the downside or the upside in order to avoid that candle, but it's going to have to deal with that candle also. We do have some buyers coming in around the, below the 126 level, so it seems that the 126 level is being pretty well supported. So if we do find selling, do be careful when we get to that 126 level again and see if buyers do come in. All right, let's look at the dollar. Dollar has been OOC, as you know. So the dollar is in a strong uptrend, bull flagging, proceeding higher and higher. There's a pretty small doji type candle here from last week. We do have a bit of a topping tail, so there was some selling coming in at prior resistance levels. But it's, you can't argue with this trend. The Tenkan-sen is pointing up, the Kijun-sen is pointing up because of the momentum of this up move. So once we, if we do test the prior high of, let's see exactly what that is, 107.85, then that could be a resistance area also. But until we see any signs of price waning, which would be something such as the Tenkan-sen going flat, we're still fully bullish for the dollar. Also, RSI is getting a bit towards the overbought, but it hasn't started redlining yet, so keep an eye on that as well if you're trading the dollar or anything against the dollar. Since we're on the dollar, let's look at some currencies that are inverse to the dollar. Like, let's look at the euro. I'm looking at the euro futures contract, the 6E. You see downtrend pretty much looks like the upside down dollar chart, fully bearish in Ichimoku terms. The Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen are pointing down. The Kijun-sen is bear crossed over the Tenkan-sen. We do have some prior lows to keep in mind here at the 104.95 level, so if we do see more selling in the euro, we could potentially look to find a bounce there. And the RSI is heading towards the oversold, but is not yet there. If we do get a trend change to the upside, we can keep an eye on the Tenkan-sen as potential sell. It's currently at 110.37, but chances are good that it will open slightly lower when the new candle opens. Let's look at the Aussie. Aussie is doing better than the euro at the moment. The Aussie managed to, last week managed to make it over the Tenkan Sen here with this strong bullish break to the upside. We're still in an uptrend as we have a higher high and a higher low off the prior week, and we are in this range between the Tenkan Sen, which is currently at 71.33, and the Kijun Sen at 73.62. So that range is well defined, and we will need to see a close either above the range or below the range in order to trade that in that direction. We have a doji type candle, a spinning top type doji, so it's pretty, even though we're in an uptrend, it's pretty unclear what direction we're going to head next. So keep an eye on the boundaries of the range. The Tenkan Sen down here at 71.33 and the Kijun Sen at 73.62, and those could be in different locations when we do open the new candle. I want to take a peek at coffee because I always like to look at coffee, and it's been pretty interesting lately. Coffee, we see found a very bullish candle last week, but is still fully in bear territory underneath the cloud, under the Tenkan Sen, under the Kijun Sen. Let me zoom in a little bit even closer. So you notice that we were unable to get above the Tenkan Sen, and we were rejected by the Kijun Sen on the prior week, and then last week we still remained underneath the Tenkan Sen. We tested over the Tenkan Sen, didn't quite get to the Kijun Sen, and then put in a close underneath the Tenkan Sen. So I would be hesitant to want to get long coffee until I saw it get over the Tenkan Sen at 124.60, and then I would really want to see it get over the Kijun Sen because there's not that much space between the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen. I'd really want to see it to get over the Kijun Sen before continuing to want to get long coffee. There's just not it's undecided in this small range between the Kijun Sen and the Tenkan Sen. So I would say leave it alone unless we see further selling and we break the close of this candle and head lower. Then we can look for potential support at the bottom of this candle, which happens to be prior resistance if you see these two candles over here. So that is the 121 level. So if we start breaking below the 121 level, I would consider getting short coffee again. The Chikou over here is also coming into resistance at this candle bottom as well. Next week it will be this candle bottom, so that's actually quite a bit higher. That's actually over the Kijun Sen, and that would be a significant range break to the upside. If we do break over the Kijun Sen to the upside, then some higher levels we could look at potential sellers coming in 130, 130.91, something like that. And let's look at the Nikkei for fun. Nikkei is looking pretty bullish overall. It's in an uptrend. We have a higher high and a higher low off this prior bullish candle. The Chikou, however, is under the candles. So the Chikou, while it may bounce off the Tenkan Sen, it's going to need to get above these candles or else it will find resistance. So we can look for potentially hitting resistance with the Nikkei if we do move higher at around 2407. And if we do move lower, we can look for potential support at the cloud at 19,222. If for some reason we move lower and lose that cloud top, we can look for potential support at the Kijun Sen at 18,993. That would put us back into neutral from bullish. But so far we're bullish on the Nikkei. I think that should do it. Thank you for watching, and good luck trading this week. If you are interested in learning more about Ichimoku, I'm still offering my $99 a month special. My regular rate is $149. So if you want to get on board and lock in that $99 a month special rate, I still have my that rate on my website at CloudChartist.com. Take a peek there. Feel free to hit me up via email, cloudchartist@gmail.com if you have any questions, or hit me up on Twitter @CloudChartist, and I'm happy to talk more about what we do in my chat room, and what we do with Ichimoku Charts, and how I can help you regain an edge in this crazy market. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.